All right. Hello. My name's Brittany. This is my family. My husband Seth and I have been married for almost 9 years, and our son Eli is almost 2. I am a former teacher, so I tend to over-explain things and talk. So I'm just going to stick to my script on this one. So I'm going to be reading. So I wanted to share a verse with you guys today. It's Philippians 4:13. This is a verse you'll be familiar with if you've ever been around Christians, church, or seen any Christian decor or t-shirts. This verse says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think this verse means that God will help you with anything you want for your life, but it does mean that he will help you through what he has planned. And if you've been on this earth for any amount of time, you know that what you have planned isn't always what God has planned. Last summer, we were busy planning what we wanted to do with our almost 1-year-old at the time. Beach trips, pool days, and of course his first birthday party was in the works. Those plans went out the window when our boy woke up from a nap with a golf ball-sized lump on the side of his neck one Sunday afternoon in early summer. I took him to the doctor that next Monday morning, and he started examining and measuring his neck, and then sat at his computer in silence. He looked up at me and said, "Do you know where Texas Children's Hospital is?" He made sure I found the location on my phone and told me I needed to call my husband to leave work when I left his office. He started saying things like, we'll be there for you every step of the way. There's so many treatment options. Kids are resilient. Realizing that this wasn't going to be a quick fix of just a prescription, I asked him flat out what was wrong with my son. He told me something bad. Understanding that what he was kind of dancing around, I said the word no one ever wants to hear, and I asked, is it cancer? And all he responded with was, I can't diagnose that here, but they will be able to at the hospital. My initial thought was just, nope, not going to happen, not possible. Now, just to jump forward for a second, maybe put your mind at ease. My son was not diagnosed with cancer, praise God. But you can imagine my fear and anxiety leaving the doctor and having to make the phone call to my husband. I got in the car and called Seth. I have no idea what we talked about in the conversation, but at some point a plan was made for him to meet us at home so we could all go to the hospital together. All I needed to do at that point was just drive home. So I got my key and I was trying to put it into the ignition to start my car, and I couldn't do it. I was shaking. I couldn't find the little hole to put the key in. It wasn't working. I broke down in my car and was about to call my husband and tell him I couldn't even figure out how to drive home when I stopped and looked up and prayed out loud, God, help. I couldn't even form a sentence to specifically ask God what I needed help with, but luckily God knows the help we need even when we don't. He calmed my mind and steadied my breathing enough that I was able to look down and remember that my car has a push button start. So click, the engine started and we were on our way. The whole way home I just kept praying, help me get us home safely. So he gave me the strength in the form of steady hands and a quiet mind to get my son what he needed next. So we get home, my husband meets us, we go to the hospital. It was a long day at the ER. We were there for about 8 hours before we could see a doctor and start running tests. We were waiting in a hallway with dozens of people because the ER and the hospital were completely full. All I could think was, I can't do this, he can't be sick. And the whole time I just prayed and prayed and prayed, God, please don't let it be. My anxiety was off the roof and my mind was running in about a million different directions. I felt like I was going to have a breakdown at any moment the whole day. And again, when I felt too overwhelmed, I just prayed to God, please help me. This time I specifically prayed, help me to get through whatever news we hear today. And just when I was on the verge of a breakdown, I looked down at my son and he smiled at me. And I knew in that moment that God was calming my spirit and quieting my mind. I felt suddenly refreshed, even though we hadn't eaten all day, and I had energy all of a sudden. God gave me strength in the form of a little boy's smile, and we spent the next several hours playing with our son and enjoying sweet moments with him. While we anxiously waited for the test results, I just remember praying, God, please help me to get my son whatever he needs next, whatever that may look like. I decided in that moment to trust God no matter what our next plan looked like. When the doctor came in with the results, I can't even describe the feeling that came with affirming it's not answered. Sorry. We could breathe, we could relax, we could cry happy tears. Sorry, this is all come back. Then the doctor told us we need to stay in the hospital for further testing because they weren't quite sure what was wrong, and we said, sure. I mean, we got the news we wanted to hear, so, we can take on anything. We ended up being in the hospital for 2 weeks after this. Things didn't go quite like they should have with his treatment, so they determined he had a cyst in his neck that he was born with, and it had gotten infected and needed to be cleared out. There was a fear that it could constrict his breathing through his throat because it was deep inside of his neck. So he ended up having to go through surgery. And there was some confusion and uncertainties because he was running a high fever while on antibiotics, which shouldn't happen. I'm not sure how many doctors we saw from how many different departments while we were there. It was stressful 2 weeks of tests, treatments, and around-the-clock vital checks, which pretty much meant no sleep at night, switching out his IV every couple days. But God gave me the strength in the form of physical energy to get up with my son every time he cried. He gave me strength of emotional steadiness when I had to hold down my screaming son while they changed his IV. He gave me and my husband strength to keep positive as we waited while he underwent surgery, praying it would fix. And God gave us strength in the form of comforting nurses and staff and family and friends to help throw our boy his first birthday party in the hospital and make his day more special than we could have ever imagined. Okay, he gives us strength for his plans, not ours. A couple months ago, I found out that I was pregnant, and then a short time after, I wasn't. This is my second miscarriage, so I feared the physical aspects to come because there had been some painful complications with the first. I feared the emotions that I knew would hit, and I feared I wouldn't be able to be a good mom to my son and a good wife to my husband during this process. Each day, I prayed to God to give me strength, whatever that looked like. And each day, a voice in my head would direct my steps and help me to take care of my son one breath at a time. Strength also came in the form of encouraging words from others, helping hands, and a lot of cookies. I heard so many people's stories of hardship and pain and adversity that they've had to go through, and I think they're so strong, I can't imagine. I don't have that much strength, but the thing is that they don't either, but God does. We only make it through by the grace of God and the strength he gives us to fulfill his plans, whatever they may be. I don't know what God has planned for my family next, but I know with him there is hope and strength. Thank y'all for your time.